I just felt like the time was now. As brothers, the examples we set now for the youth. I remember being the same ones watching Ice Cube, watching Russell Simmons. We setting the precedent right now for the future, and that's not what we want them to see.
What is Birdman doing?
Lil Wayne hasn't been able to release his album that has been ready to be released for a long time now. It was time for somebody to speak on it.
His music is being stopped because there's sort of contract dispute between Birdman and Lil Wayne. It all has to do with money. DJ Khaled, he was robbed also?
Don't get it twisted. DJ Khaled is extremely successful, man. But the situation he was in with Birdman most definitely
He was signed to Birdman's label.
Correct. And you know, it didn't work out the way he assumed it would. Birdman should straighten that. So you ain't a boss till you clean your face, you dig?
It all started as a quiet whisper online. Then boom, a wild clip dropped out of nowhere showing what looked like Rick Ross and Birdman throwing hands. The internet lost it. Blogs posted nonstop, fans arguing, and everybody trying to figure out what really went down. Was it old beef finally exploding, or did something brand new set it off? Let's rewind this madness and break it down piece by piece. Now, this whole situation got folks talking about one of the longest running tensions in rap, Rick Ross versus Birdman. Their story ain't new, but it always finds a way to come back loud. If you've been following this saga for years, you already know these two got deep history, full of respect, money, and messy fallouts. But that new clip, it just reopened old wounds and got everyone back in their feelings again, dragging up all the past drama between the Maybach music boss and the Cash Money legend. Here's how it all started. Back in the day, Ross and Birdman were tight, like real tight. We're talking two Southern kings who built their empires off loyalty and hustle. They even dropped a whole joint mixtape called The H, recorded in 2008, but officially released in May 2013. That tape had bangers like Flashy Cars and Born Stunner, tracks to scream success and brotherhood. Ross used to speak on Birdman with mad respect, calling him an idol who pushed him to level up in the rap game. And Birdman, he kept that same energy, saying Ross was like a brother and even taught him real lessons about the industry. Back then, it was nothing but love between the two bosses, until things got complicated. So how did we go from brotherhood to straight up beef? That's the real question, and we're about to break it all down right now. To really see where things started falling apart, we gotta rewind and look deeper at Birdman's history with another major name, Lil Wayne. Because truth be told, the tension between Ross and Birdman didn't just come out of nowhere. It was sparked by Birdman's messy fallout with Lil Wayne, someone Ross always respected heavy as a Southern rap icon. See, back in the day, Birdman discovered Wayne when the kid was just 9 years old out in the Magnolia Projects in New Orleans. Birdman spotted young Wayne freestyling and instantly knew this kid was special. He took him under his wing and signed him to Cash Money Records in 1993, shaping him into one of the biggest rappers alive. Wayne looked up to Birdman like a real father figure, even calling him daddy after losing his stepfather in 1997. That bond was deep. It wasn't just music, it was family. For years, they moved like a unit, dropping hit after hit and building Cash Money into a full-blown empire. Birdman would always call Wayne his son and even said he'd die for him. Everything looked unshakable until it wasn't. By December 2014, things took a wild turn. Wayne hit Twitter and exploded, saying he felt like a prisoner at Cash Money. He accused Birdman of holding back the Carter V and not paying him his rightful money. Fans went crazy, the industry watched in shock, and suddenly that tight father-son bond looked more like a business war zone. Wayne's tweets were raw, emotional, and made it clear something was seriously broken between them. And that drama, it didn't just stay between those two. It sent shockwaves through the whole rap game, dragging Rick Ross right into the middle of it. This wasn't just some small disagreement. Nah, this was a full-blown war over money and respect. Wayne was done with the games. By January 2015, he went straight to court, dropping a massive $51 million lawsuit against Birdman and Cash Money Records, claiming they broke his contract and owed him stacks in unpaid advances. That move shook the whole rap world. And that's exactly where Rick Ross stepped into the picture. The Maybach music boss had been watching everything unfold from the sidelines, but when he saw how Wayne was being treated, it didn't sit right with him at all. Ross had always respected Wayne for his grind and what he built for Southern rap, so seeing someone of that level getting played, that hit deep. When you admire someone from afar, you build this clean image of who you think they are, but once you see how they really move behind closed doors, that image can crumble fast. Ross started looking at Birdman different after that. He wasn't just watching the drama anymore, he was feeling it on a personal level. Then things took an even darker turn in April 2015. Wayne's tour bus got shot up in Atlanta after a club show. Nobody was injured, thank God, but the message was loud and clear. The whole industry froze. People started whispering, wondering who could have been behind it, and whether the Cash Money beef had just crossed the line into something way more dangerous. When the police started digging into that 2015 shooting, reports linked it to people connected with Birdman's circle, but Birdman shut it down quick, denying any part in it. In the end, the charges got dropped in 2019 because the cops couldn't lock down enough evidence. Still, just being associated with that kind of street heat changed how everybody viewed the situation. That whole Cash Money family image started looking real different after that. From there, Ross wasn't holding back anymore. Between 2015 and 2016, Ross started airing his thoughts out loud, straight through his music. On his Black Market album, dropped in December 2015, Ross came with a record called Color Money, and trust, everyone knew who those bars were aimed at. He was talking about stacking more paper and sending slick shots at the way Wayne was being treated over at Cash Money. It was bold, it was messy, and fans were eating it up. Then, in April 2016, Birdman hit the Breakfast Club for what became one of the most legendary and shortest interviews in hip-hop history. The man walked in hot, demanded respect, and dropped that now famous line, "Put some respect on my name," before storming out after barely 2 minutes. That clip went viral instantly, turning into meme gold overnight. Ross couldn't resist jumping in the mix. As a subtle but savage move, he sent the Breakfast Club host Charlemagne the God a few bottles of his Bel Air Rosé champagne, basically trolling Birdman in style. It was smooth, but the message was loud. Ross had officially drawn his line in the sand against the Cash Money boss. But the fire didn't stop there. By September 2016, Wayne was still venting online, even tweeting that he might retire. Fans were heartbroken, and Ross, he was getting ready to turn that frustration into something even bigger. Ross wasn't just tweeting for fun, he was calling shots. When someone on Twitter suggested that Wayne should jump ship and join Maybach Music Group, Ross hit retweet with the caption, "Get Birdman on the phone." That wasn't just a joke, it was a straight-up challenge. Ross was setting himself up as Wayne's potential savior, while low-key putting pressure on Birdman, questioning his power and control over his own artist. But what made this hit even harder for Birdman was the emotional side of it. He really thought him and Ross were cool, solid. In interviews around that time, Birdman sounded genuinely thrown off, saying he couldn't understand why Ross was suddenly inserting himself into drama that wasn't his. From Birdman's perspective, they were homies who'd built respect over years of friendship. He even gave props to Ross and the whole Miami scene for helping him strengthen his presence down there. So for Ross to flip and take public shots, that felt like betrayal. But Ross had his reasons, and they ran deeper than just the Lil Wayne situation. Another key name popped up that made things personal, his longtime brother, DJ Khaled. According to Ross, Khaled had also dealt with what he described as shady business moves from Birdman's side. That was the final straw. Now, Ross wasn't just defending Wayne, he was standing up for multiple people he cared about who he felt had been done dirty. At that point, it wasn't just label politics, it was about principle. Ross started seeing a pattern in how Birdman handled business, and once you start crossing people close to him, that's a line you can't uncross. The loyalty was gone, the respect faded, and those idols Ross once looked up to, they had officially turned into rivals. Everything finally exploded in March 2017 when Rick Ross dropped what many still call the centerpiece of this entire feud, Idols Become Rivals, featuring Chris Rock. But this wasn't your regular diss track, nah, this was a full-on expose. Ross didn't just throw shots, he told a story, bar for bar, painting a picture of what he saw as Birdman's broken morals and shady money moves. It was emotional, direct, and brutally honest. That track wasn't just about beef, it was about disappointment, betrayal, and calling out a man he once admired as a legend. Ross put everything into that track, heart, passion, and straight-up truth. The streets felt it every single bar, no lie. The song dropped on his album, Rather You Than Me, and it didn't hold nothing back. Ross came swinging, accusing Birdman of using his artist, Wayne, DJ Khaled, and more as cash cows to fund his luxury life, while the real talent was left struggling to get paid. It was raw, personal, and hit way harder than a simple diss track. Ross spoke straight to Birdman through his lyrics, saying his idol once gave him confidence and motivation, but was also dipping in the same pockets of the artist who helped him rise. He rapped about how that trust got shattered, and even said he prayed for Birdman to find some love in his heart for Wayne, who'd given his whole life to help Birdman eat. That line hit deep. It showed Ross wasn't just angry, he was disappointed. He didn't stop there either. Ross made a pointed call out for producers to get paid, throwing light on all those long-standing rumors about Cash Money not paying up what was owed. Every verse felt like an open letter, exposing what Ross saw as a long history of exploitation, greed, and betrayal in the game. This wasn't just one man calling another out. It was Ross putting Birdman's whole legacy under a spotlight for the world to judge.
It's one of those things that when you're a student and you know, you admire someone from a distance, then you get opportunity to work with them, and you working, you know, along with them, and then you begin to see things that you really don't, you know, respect or, you know, or didn't expect.
By October 2017, Birdman's patience had clearly run out. Something inside him snapped, and this time he wasn't holding nothing back. He jumped on Instagram Live for almost 10 minutes straight, ranting, cursing out critics, and making it clear as cat he was tired of people talking down on his name. He didn't drop any names, but everybody could read between the lines. He started referring to his haters as little bitty bits, and even threw out a line that had folks raising eyebrows. You don't want to see no murder. That's when things got real tense. He never mentioned Ross by name, but come on, the timing said it all. The energy in that rant was different, raw and angry. Birdman sounded like a man fed up with all the disrespect being thrown his way. He even took a moment to defend his relationship with Lil Wayne, reminding everyone that Wayne was his son, someone he'd raised from a young age and still loved like family. Birdman wanted it known he wasn't gonna entertain the drama through records or social media posts. He handled things his way, in real life, not online. But Ross, he wasn't letting that fly. A few days later, he fired back with his own video, filmed somewhere tropical, shirt open, palm trees swaying in the background. Ross kept his tone cool and calm, but every word hit sharp. He basically laughed off Birdman's rant, saying the man was putting on a show instead of fixing what really mattered, cutting Wayne his check. Ross's response was smooth but savage. He reminded everyone that Wayne's money situation had been dragging on for nearly 5 years, and Birdman still hadn't made things right. That one comment summed up Ross's whole stance. He wasn't impressed by tough talk or flashy threats. He wanted action. To him, Birdman could post all the rants he wanted, but until he paid the people he owed, the respect was gone. It was boss versus boss energy, but this time, the world was watching to see who would fold first. By that point, Ross was basically saying all that tough talk don't mean a thing if you still owe people money. He wasn't here for the threats or posturing, he wanted results. The whole back and forth showed just how different these two handled conflict. Birdman liked to project power through intimidation and by brushing things off, while Ross moved with directness and accountability, telling him flat out to handle his business instead of talking slick on the gram. It was boss energy versus boss energy, but with two completely different mindsets. What made that whole era even crazier was what was still going down with Lil Wayne behind the scenes. While all this public drama between Ross and Birdman was heating up, Wayne was still under contract with Cash Money, still working in studios that were literally next door to Birdman's. The situation was wild. Imagine two men locked in a multi-million-dollar legal battle, passing each other in the hallway but not saying a single word. That tension had to be thick enough to choke on. Birdman even admitted in an interview that the dynamic was awkward. He described how it hurt their personal relationship, but insisted he didn't want business problems to destroy the family bond they once had. He made it clear, no matter the legal mess, he still viewed Wayne as his son, and deep down, he hoped that one day
they could rebuild what had been broken. Then, finally, after years of silence, lawsuits, and lyrical shots, the situation took a major turn. In June 2018, Wayne and Birdman officially settled their $51 million lawsuit. That moment marked the end of one of hip-hop's longest and messiest label battles. It didn't erase all the bad blood overnight, but it showed that maybe, just maybe, there was still room for some kind of peace between them. The streets watched it all unfold, knowing one thing for sure: this chapter in rap history was one for the books. When the dust finally settled, Lil Wayne came out on top. He gained full control of the Carter V. The long-awaited album finally dropped in September 2018, marking a major victory after years of label wars. On top of that, Wayne officially left Cash Money Records, but managed to keep his ownership stake in Young Money, securing his independence while still holding on to what he built. The official details of the deal stayed private, but word on the street was that Wayne walked away with over $10 million as part of the settlement. That was a huge win after all the stress, lawsuits, and public tension. After so many years of bad blood, it finally looked like both sides were ready to move forward. The world got to witness that long-awaited moment of peace in August 2018 at Lil Louisiana Fest, when Birdman surprised the crowd by pulling up on stage and publicly declaring his love for Wayne. He called him the greatest, and the crowd went wild. It was emotional, man. After everything they'd been through, seeing Birdman and Wayne share that stage again felt like a full circle moment.
Now here's where things start heating back up: recent drama and unfinished business. Even though Lil Wayne and Birdman seem to have buried the hatchet years ago, the tension between Rick Ross and Birdman never really cooled off. That energy's been sitting just beneath the surface, simmering quietly, but ready to spark at any moment. Every now and then it flares up again through interviews, podcasts, and those cryptic social media posts that always get people talking. And here's what makes it even wilder. Other folks in the industry have kept the story alive too. Everybody's got an opinion, and the talk never stopped. In July 2022, Birdman pulled up to DJ Academic's Off the Record podcast and finally decided to air out his real feelings. During that sit-down, he took direct shots at Ross, accusing him of biting his style and copying his moves when he started Maybach Music Group. Birdman said Ross studied his whole hustle, how he ran Cash Money, how he built his brand, and then flipped that same game plan for himself. Birdman didn't hold back either. He said the two used to be tight, real tight, but now he felt betrayed. To him, Ross wasn't just a critic, he was someone who had learned from his playbook and then used those lessons against him. That hit deep. It wasn't about Lil Wayne anymore, it was about legacy, ego, and pride. Birdman seemed to feel like Ross didn't just turn his back on him, but tried to outshine him using the very blueprint he helped inspire. Whether there's truth to that or not depends on who you ask, but one thing's for sure, Birdman's frustration runs way deeper than just those public shots Ross threw years ago. In Birdman's mind, he helped shape Ross into the mogul he became, and to see that same man publicly diss him, that was the ultimate form of betrayal. And lately, Birdman hasn't been subtle about it at all. In more recent interviews, he's made it very clear where he stands when it comes to Ross, and he's hinted that if things ever cross that line again, he knows exactly how he's going to handle it. The tension's real, and it's feeling like the story between these two giants of Southern rap might not be finished just yet. That statement from Birdman carried some serious weight. He basically made it clear he's not about all that online back and forth. If someone disrespects him, he takes it personally and handles it in real life, not on social media. Birdman positioned himself as someone who came up straight from the streets and still moves by that code. He was implying that if there's ever a real issue, it gets handled face to face, not through tweets, interviews, or subliminals. That's his whole mentality. Old school, no internet antics, no clout chasing. He's not the type to trade diss tracks or argue on camera. Birdman moves different. That's part of what's made this feud so intriguing. While Ross goes public with his thoughts, Birdman keeps things quiet but deadly serious. He's been consistent for years about that. And what's wild is that even after all this time, Birdman still says he doesn't fully understand why Ross turned on him in the first place.
He's repeatedly expressed confusion, saying he thought Ross was family, someone who had no reason to step into what he considers private business between him and Wayne. From Birdman's perspective, Ross inserting himself into that situation was crossing a line. It was family business that turned into public spectacle. But from Ross's side, he felt he was standing up for what was right. That's what's made this tension so layered. It's not just about money or beef, it's about loyalty, pride, and perception. Even other artists who were close to the situation have spoken up about what it was like watching everything unfold. Gudda Gudda, who was signed to Young Money and right there in the trenches with Wayne during the Cash Money fallout, shared what it was like from the inside. Hearing it from someone who lived through that chaos gave fans a real glimpse into how deep and emotional the divide was between Birdman, Wayne, and everyone caught in between.
That insight from Gudda Gudda really showed what was happening behind the curtain. While the world saw tweets, interviews, and lawsuits, Lil Wayne and his crew were out here grinding through pure chaos, still showing up to the studio, still making music, still keeping their heads high despite all the noise around them. That kind of focus takes real strength and dedication. Not everybody could have handled that kind of pressure while the world was watching every move. Even Trick Daddy, a true Miami legend, had to weigh in on the whole situation. He had genuine relationships with both sides, which gave him a rare, balanced perspective. Having history with Rick Ross and the Cash Money camp put Trick in a position to see both the loyalty and the mistakes from each angle, and when he spoke, he kept it real as always. Trick said straight up that he still respected Birdman, but he also understood that the financial drama between Birdman and Wayne wasn't his place to step into. He made a solid point. He said he couldn't argue about another man's money situation, and a lot of folks thought that was the same energy Ross should have had from the jump. But at the same time, Trick didn't let Birdman off the hook completely. He made it clear that Birdman could have handled things better when the mess first blew up. That kind of middle ground honesty hit hard. It showed how complex the situation really was. It wasn't just about taking sides, it was about recognizing how business, pride, and loyalty all collided in a very public way. And even though years have passed, this beef still pops up in new drama. The whole saga even resurfaced during Rick Ross's issues with Drake in 2024, which tied right back to the Cash Money tree. Since Drake came up under Young Money, the connection was impossible to ignore. Fans on social media never stopped bringing it up either. Posts from 2025 and 2026 keep revisiting Ross's Idols Become Rivals track, breaking down lyrics, sharing old clips, and debating who was really right or wrong. It's wild how something that started over loyalty and money has turned into a full-blown legacy conversation, proof that some beefs in hip-hop don't just fade out, they evolve, echo, and keep shaping the culture for years. Whenever hip-hop fans start talking about Rick Ross's diss records or Birdman's business reputation, that one track, Idols Become Rivals, always gets brought up. It's remembered as one of the coldest, most emotional shots fired in rap history. But what really adds depth to the story is how other big names in the game chimed in while all this was going down. One of the most notable voices, 50 Cent. During the height of Lil Wayne versus Birdman drama, 50 dropped some wisdom that turned out to be spot-on prophetic. He warned everyone that family beefs don't end like regular rap beefs. They always find their own way back to peace eventually. And guess what? He was right. Wayne and Birdman did manage to patch things up, just like 50 said they would. But here's the twist. While Wayne and Birdman found forgiveness, Ross stayed on the outside of that reconciliation. Birdman made it crystal clear that his door wasn't open for Ross. No handshake, no peace talks, no friendly reunion, nothing. The respect might have once been there, but the trust, gone. 50 Cent understood the dynamics perfectly. He's been around long enough to know that when blood or deep bonds are involved, the rules change. Family beefs come with emotions and history that outsiders can't always touch. And from Birdman's eyes, that was Ross, someone who stepped into family business and crossed a line. From Ross's perspective, though, he probably feels vindicated. Everything he called out about artists being underpaid, held back, or treated unfairly eventually got proven true. Wayne got his money, his freedom, and his control over his music, which validated the exact points Ross had been making for years. So while the bridges might still be burned between him and Birdman, Ross can stand tall knowing his words weren't just talk, they were facts that time itself confirmed. Whether Birdman sees it that way or not, that's a whole different story. From his point of view, this wasn't just rap politics, it was personal. Birdman has said time and time again that he once looked at Rick Ross like a brother. He claims he schooled Ross on how to move in the industry, gave him game on business, and embraced him when he was still building his name. So for Ross to turn around and publicly criticize him and side with Lil Wayne in their fallout felt like a deep betrayal. In Birdman's eyes, that wasn't just disrespect. It was like getting stabbed in the back by someone you helped feed. He still sees it as a wound that never fully healed, a reminder that loyalty in this game can flip overnight. If you've been following this wild saga and want to keep up with the latest twist, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. Hit that bell so you don't miss the next drop. We're breaking down every move, every quote, and every piece of drama as it unfolds.